What if you got rewarded for every good decision? What if your heart had a special way of letting you know it appreciates your healthy choices?
I've got to get my family to eat more vegetables.
Amazing!
And instead of cooking with butter tonight, I think I'll saute our veggies with heart-healthy oil.
You're a genius!
So really, would your food choices pay off in heart health? Did you know that when you replace bad fats with healthier fats, like those in canola or other vegetable oils, it can lower bad cholesterol levels? And that's good for your heart. Here's a winning idea. Take up the challenge for good health, because the you of the future will say,
Fantastic!
Learn more at heart.org/facethefats. Canola Info proudly supports the American Heart Association's Face the Fats campaign.
This is Talk 1470.
Talk 1470.
WNN.
Hi, I'm Judith Light. So there you are. It's flu season, and you're over 65 like me. You're having another busy year. So much to do, so many roles in life to play. But you feel like you might be forgetting something serious. Your annual flu shot. And before you know it, it's too late. It's not just the aches, fever, and chills that last for days and days. The flu can be life-threatening, especially if you have chronic conditions like diabetes and heart disease, which can worsen with the flu. Being active and healthy alone won't protect you. The immune system weakens with age, making you more susceptible to the flu. If you're over 65, ask about your vaccine options, including one made specifically for us. An annual flu shot is the best way to help keep the flu away. Visit the National Council on Aging at ncoa.org/flu to learn more and talk to your doctor or pharmacist about vaccine options for people 65 and older. Again, that's ncoa.org/flu.
Talk 1470. WWNN Pompano Beach, Boca Raton, Miami, Fort Lauderdale.
Hearing loss is a growing health issue among young adults and older Americans, with the condition today affecting more than 48 million people nationwide. Now is the time to preserve your hearing. That means limiting exposure to loud noises, using ear protection when attending sports events or music concerts, and following the 60-60 rule, which means limiting the use of earbud headphones to 60 minutes at a time and at 60% of the device's maximum volume. Talk to a hearing healthcare provider or your physician and schedule a hearing test. It's also important to discuss hearing loss with your family and seek treatment. Common signs include turning up the volume on the TV or radio to the level that others find too loud, having trouble hearing people on the phone, or difficulty with following conversations in noisy environments. Hearing loss can affect your ability to stay connected to friends and family, contributing to social isolation, lower earnings, depression, dementia, and higher risk of falls. For more information about hearing loss and other ways to improve your health as you age, go to www.hearingloss.org. This has been a public service message from the Hearing Loss Association of America, High Health Innovations, and the station.
AM 1470, WNN, with more of what you need to know. Don't miss Barry's Supplement Hour, Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 11 a.m. on South Florida's Health and Wealth Network, AM 1470, WNN.
Hi, it's Jay Foster. Join us 7 days a week from 2 to 3 p.m. for Health Connection Radio. We'll talk about natural cholesterol control, toxic metal syndrome, how to reverse bone loss, and the latest scientific research on vitamins and minerals. We'll have fascinating guests, and we'll take lots of your calls, too. So join us 7 days a week from 2 to 3 p.m. for Health Connection Radio right here on WNN.
You can become independently healthy, and I'll tell you how. Dr. Bob Martin here. If you want to feel, function, and perform the very best you can, please tune in and call into my show Sunday mornings at 10 on Talk 1470 WNN.
What do you want to be when you're older?
Hold on, it's like a deep question.
When I'm older, I want to be a singer. That's my goal.
I'm not sure I want to invent the supercomputer, but I definitely want to build the supercomputer.
I want to be an inspiration.
An organizer of like do-gooders.
I want to be a veterinarian. I want to help out animals and work with them.
I want to be a media mogul. Just rule the world.
When I'm older, I want to be anything but the one that doesn't fit in, the one that people don't love.
Everyone deserves a dream.
Everyone.
But some of us are depressed,
anxious,
scared,
angry,
alone.
Don't feel like ourselves.
We can't even focus on the present, much less the future.
If that's you, say something.
It's okay to talk. It's okay to share. It's okay to get help or help someone.
Talk to someone. It helps. and people will listen. Add your voice at oktotalk.org. oktotalk.org.
Brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters.
What you want to know. What you need to know.
Talk 1470. WNN.
I definitely feel like the words veteran and homeless should never go together.
Sergeant Michelle Garcia served meritoriously in Iraq and Afghanistan.
I had friends, and I went and stayed at a friend's house, and then I realized, well, you're staying at your friend's house, but how long can you stay there? Where are you going to go? Where are you going to call home?
Lieutenant Richard Stokely took the skills he learned in Vietnam and put them to use as a paramedic. But after they left the service, these veterans had problems with homelessness. Michelle lost all her savings, and Richard battled alcoholism for years.
It started taking me down, all the way down to the point where I lost my family and I ended up homeless.
A simple phone call to 877-424-3838 put them in touch with the Department of Veterans Affairs. If you are a veteran in need, or you know a veteran who is homeless or at risk of being homeless, call 877-424-3838 or visit va.gov/homeless.
I definitely feel like the words veteran and homeless should never go together.
Sergeant Michelle Garcia served meritoriously in Iraq and Afghanistan.
I had friends, and I went and stayed at a friend's house, and then I realized, well, you're staying at your friend's house, but how long can you stay there? Where are you going to go? Where are you going to call home?
Lieutenant Richard Stokely took the skills he learned in Vietnam and put them to use as a paramedic. But after they left the service, these veterans had problems with homelessness. Michelle lost all her savings, and Richard battled alcoholism for years.
It started taking me down, all the way down to the point where I lost my family and I ended up homeless.
A simple phone call to 877-424-3838 put them in touch with the Department of Veterans Affairs. If you are a veteran in need, or you know a veteran who is homeless or at risk of being homeless, call 877-424-3838 or visit va.gov/homeless.
The opinions expressed on the following sponsored program are strictly those of the host, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of the station, its staff, management, or sponsors. Welcome to the Golf and Travel Show, the place to fine-tune your swing, dress for the course, club, or cruise, and get tips on the best places to play and stay at the right price. Vacation or staycation, host Dan Shub, along with his expert co-hosts and guests, will tell you where to go. To play golf and vacation, that is. Now, here's Dan.
Welcome to the Golf and Travel Show. I'm your host, Dan Shub, and tonight, like we always do at this time, we're going to talk some golf, we're going to talk some travel, help you out, make sure that you don't get ripped off and get to go to the place you want to go at the right price and make sure that it all goes well for you. Also, we have an excellent show for you tonight because in just a couple of minutes, we've got a few great guests that we'll be chatting with. First, we'll be talking to Ralph Cochran, and he is the founder of the Ralph Cochran Golf Classic, benefiting Food for the Poor. And that's a mouthful. But, of course, Food for the Poor is a local charity in Coconut Creek that actually takes care of those folks in Haiti that need a lot of help, especially since the hurricane that just blew through there. They need it more than ever. So Raph started this golf tournament last year. He's going to have the second annual one this year. And, by the way, I think he's about 11 years old. So this should be very interesting to find out how somebody who is a little bit younger than most of us, who's doing a lot to help people. So that I'm looking forward to talking to Raph. And then just a little bit later in the show, we will be talking with Chrissy Wright, and she is the general manager of the Marriott Charlotte City Center, which just recently had a grand reopening featuring Marriott's Innovation Lab new design, which has a lot of technology. It's just a very, very cool new hotel brand that they're trying out here. So I'm curious to find out about it. I've seen some photos and read a little bit about what they got going on there, and I want to hear more about it. Charlotte's a place that I enjoy visiting, and perhaps all of you do as well. I have business there from time to time, and do like to stay right there in the center city. Have not had the pleasure of staying at the Marriott yet, but hopefully I will soon. And before I talk a little bit of golf, I did want to talk, maybe while we're talking Marriott, just a little bit more Marriott, because I've been talking a little bit about the merger between Marriott and Starwood. So you have two of the largest chains around. And I stay at Marriott very frequently. I'm a member of their rewards program and stay at a lot of their hotels, all the different brands, depending on my travels. And I do stay at Starwood properties on some occasions, not that frequently. But I've mentioned it in the past, and now I've actually experienced it, that the folks at Marriott who are trying to merge these programs, and the programs are so huge, and people, they get set in their ways. People who are frequent travelers, and they stay with a certain brand, and they have a certain rewards program and a certain level, and they get kind of used to it. So change sometimes is scary, but the folks at Marriott, like they always do, they're trying to deal with issues before they become issues and make sure that all of their customers are happy customers, especially their best customers, the ones who use their brand most frequently. So I went ahead and signed up for Starwood's program that I wasn't a member of because, like I say, I only stay there, once in a while. So my points wouldn't have added up to much of anything anyway. But taking their advice, I went ahead and I did it, and it was really, really easy to do. And I know that I guess in 3 or 4 months I'm going to be staying at a Westin property in Las Vegas, which is a Starwood brand, for several days for a show that I'm working out there for. And, so I knew that I'd be leaving points on the table if I didn't do this. But, it's just, we're all very fast to criticize, whether they be hotels or airlines or car rental companies or whatever, when they do the wrong thing. And I always like to make sure that I compliment the companies that are doing the right thing and let everybody know about that as well. So tip my hat to the Marriott folks and, of course, the Starwood folks as well. The merged program, it may take until 2018 or 19 until there's only one program. But in the meantime, the way they set it up, like I say, it's really easy to kind of move points back and forth and benefit from whatever level you've attained in either program. And so I kind of like that idea. We'll talk some more, obviously, about Marriott and their new brand in Charlotte just a little bit later on in the show. And I have some other hotel stuff that I want to talk to you about, too. But let's talk a little bit about golf first, because typically this time of the show, we like to talk a little bit more on the golf side. And, of course, we'll be talking about the Golf Classic in just a few minutes as well. But, we've been talking a little bit about Tiger Woods, and I wanted to continue the conversation just briefly because the story, I'm going to veer off in a different direction, and it took a strange turn. But, of course, Tiger had announced that he was going to play in the Safeway Classic and get back to playing after about a year of injuries. And then he was also then going to play in the Turkish Open, which he plays in from time to time. I think he gets appearance money to play in that, and I guess that's the European Tour stop. And he decided to cancel that as well because he either wasn't ready or his management people said that, he doesn't want to have his first event back not on U.S. soil. He'd rather be on the PGA Tour. And he's probably going to come back in December. At this point, it looks like at an event that's his own event that benefits his charities. But the interesting part about the story is the Turkish Open, which is about a week or two away, the beginning of November, I believe. It seems that, there's been some unrest in Turkey, and somebody shot a missile that landed not too far from the club that is hosting this event. So it seems that the officials from the tour have scurried over there to go check out the situation to make sure that it's safe for everybody. So I can't remember the last time that a PGA Tour or European Tour event had to consider moving or canceling an event due to rocket fire. So I haven't heard an update, but I just thought that was kind of curious. The other thing that I did want to mention that's pretty important golf news is just this week they named who's going to be inducted into the Golf Hall of Fame. And golf is an interesting sport whereby sometimes players who have not even retired get nominated. Younger players, you have to just win a certain number of events, and it really doesn't matter what your age is or whether you've even retired, which is certainly very different from other sports. And, of course, the World Golf Hall of Fame is up the highway a little bit in St. Augustine, Florida. So if you haven't been there, it's very, very cool. I do recommend that you check it out. But this year's class, I did want to send out some congratulations to them. First up is Davis Love III, who, of course, just brilliantly captained our Ryder Cup team to victory. So kudos to him for that. So he's not only got a great career playing, but a great career now in managing as well, being a captain. So that's pretty cool. On the LPGA Tour, Meg Mallon and Lorena Ochoa. And from the other side of the pond, we've got Ian Woosden and Henry Longhurst, who was a commentator and covered golf for a long time as well. So congratulations to all of those folks. Interestingly enough, the induction ceremony, is going to be held in New York, not at the Hall of Fame here in St. Augustine. In the past, it's been held here locally. And for whatever reason, this time it's not. Perhaps they want to make it easier for more media to cover it, I suppose. But that's quite an accomplishment to make it to the Hall of Fame. So kudos to all of the new folks. I had mentioned that I was going to talk a little bit about hotels. And, it's no secret to anybody that I'm a frequent visitor to Las Vegas. As a matter of fact, I was supposed to be in Las Vegas, and it got canceled due to the hurricane. So I kind of was upset, but I am going back a few more times before the year is done. And one of the things that I have not encountered yet that we had spoken about a while back was the fact that some of the hotels are starting to now charge for parking. And that all had to do with the new arena that they opened up out there, the T-Mobile Arena. And, I really wasn't too keen on that, but it's the MGM who opened up that arena, and when the arena opened up, they said they were going to charge for parking. So it's about $10 a day, I think, for self-parking and a little bit more for valet. So that's going to be an eye-opener for me. I'll be back out there around Thanksgiving time. But this news story that I heard is really going to be troubling, I think, to some folks. And this is both Caesars and MGM. They're experimenting with a technology now that can track how much money you're spending in the casino. And what they're then going to do is they're not going to offer free drinks to folks that aren't spending enough money. So you're going to actually have to earn your free drinks. The way that they have it set up right now, the way they're trying it out, I believe, is at Caesars. And they're trying it out on the video poker machines. And they're going to have basically different lights that light up, that flash, so that the cocktail waitresses know if you're entitled to another drink or not. You might get a drink when you first sit down to play, and then after that, it's all based upon how much you spend, how much they're going to allow you to have. So, personally, I've been kind of a study of the whole thing that goes on in casinos, and I know that there are many people that spend a real lot of money gambling, and many of them that have probably drank so much that they might not be doing as well as they could because they're not as alert as they ought to be. And obviously, it was always the thought was that these casinos don't mind giving you as much alcohol as you want because it helps them take your money away while you're gambling. So I'm not so sure who this is going to favor. If the gamblers, then again, the folks that gamble, a lot of them say, hey, I'm getting free drinks all night, so I don't care if I lose. So I'm not sure how this is going to end up turning out, who's going to be happy and who's going to be angry, and where all this is heading. But needless to say, Las Vegas, it morphs, it reinvents itself from time to time, and things change, and time goes by, and perhaps we don't even realize it. So I'm curious to see how all this is going to play out when I'm out there. I'll be out there several times this year, so every opportunity that I get, I'm going to have to pop into places like Caesars Palace and see how this is working, and maybe even talk to some of the folks that work there, some of the cocktail waitresses, etc., and figure out how it's all going down out there. So, and of course, I'll share it with all of you. All right, I think what we're going to do is we're going to take our first break and have a message from our sponsors. Then we're going to be back with our first guest, Ralph Cochran, and we'll be talking about his golf classic that's benefiting Food for the Poor. You won't want to miss it, so stay tuned for more of the Golf and Travel Show. We'll be right back. And we are back, and time for a message from our sponsor, Labor Finders. If your business needs industrial workers or if you're looking for work, you got to call Labor Finders. Labor Finders places for temporary or temporary to hire opportunities for skilled, semi-skilled, or general labor positions such as plumbers, electricians, concrete workers, forklift operators, hospitality workers, office clerical, and so much more. Excuse me. Labor Finders has almost 200 offices nationwide. Near here in Boca Raton, they have offices in Homestead, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, West Palm Beach, and in Jupiter. So if you need legal, insured workers, or if you're looking for work, call Labor Finders toll free at 800-864-7749. That's 800-864-7749, or visit laborfinders.com.
Look out! 1, 2, you know what to do.
And we are back, and you don't want to mess with this kid because this kid is he's got it all going on. And when I heard about this golf tournament and the work that's being done, and certainly the need that the extreme need in Haiti these days, I thought that we got to find out a little bit more about it and see if we could drum up some more interest and see if any of our listeners could turn out for this year's tournament. So without further ado, the founder of the Rafe Cochran Golf Classic, none other than Rafe Cochran. Rafe, are you there?
Yes, I am. How are you today?
I'm doing fine, and yourself?
I'm well.
Well, good. I'm glad to hear that, and we're all fortunate, I think, that if you're a golfer, and I know you are and I am, this is the best time of year in Florida for us, huh? It's starting to finally cool down a little bit, huh?
It is. It's beautiful weather for golfing.
It sure is. So, most of the time when I have a guest on, I like to kind of get a little bit of history and find out, where they started and what brought them to the place that we're at today. Now, with you, I don't want to go back too far because that'll be the womb, and that's really not necessary. But why don't we just go back maybe to the beginning when you started to have a love of golf, and why don't we start from there? So when did you start playing golf, and how did that kind of go about?
Yes, of course. So I was first a tennis player, and I was playing tennis at the Breakers when I was about 5, 6. And I would just see people playing golf, and I asked my mom, may I try golf? So she got me a 20-minute, 30-minute lesson, and I just got hooked, and I fell in love, and I wanted to become a professional golfer.
Well, you see, now you're getting ahead of me because at one point I was going to ask where you're going in the future, but now you got ahead of me. So let's talk a little bit about your game. So you started taking your lesson over there at the, with the Breakers. And by the way, a very close colleague of mine who I work with, he plays tennis at the Breakers almost every day, still to this day. He's an ex coach for tennis and a college player for tennis, so he took that route. I try and get him out on the golf course every once in a while, but he sticks to the tennis. But I'm familiar with the Breakers. I'm familiar with the golf course. I played there not long ago myself, and it's a great facility, of course. But so what kind of a game do you have?
Well, it's good. It's good. You have up and downs, as you know, being a golfer. But I work very hard in it, and I'm quite satisfied with my game.
Well, and, obviously we like to talk a little bit about the game of golf, and, it's more exercise than people like to give it credit for. It's good to be out there. But obviously, we like to think that there's a lot of life's lessons learned out there on the golf course. So, you're doing some good work. How much of this really came from the beginnings of playing golf?
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they say that a lot of young people, from learning etiquette on the golf course and learning rules and regulations and how to play and how to manage yourself and your game, that those are life lessons. Would you agree with that?
I would totally. Golf is a very humbling sport, and it really builds your attitude. And I feel like everything's based on how a man performs on a golf course mentally. Because if you're poor mentally, golf will destroy you, and it definitely builds character.
Well, I would have to agree with that. So okay, so now you started playing golf a little bit, and we all know that charity and golf kind of go hand in hand on the PGA Tour. They raise millions and millions in every city that they go to, and so there's always been a golf and charity component. So when was it that you kind of got an understanding of how charity and golf work together and a desire to get involved in that capacity?
Well, when I was in third grade, 9 years old, we at Pine Day Academy, we had a field trip to Food for the Poor headquarters. And when I was there and listening to Delane speak and seeing all the pictures of the kids' suffering families on the walls, I just felt of how fortunate I am and how fortunate we all are. And I just had a drive, and I knew I had to help these people. And I know that professional golfers, as you said, they perform charity events. So I actually started off using my golf for, for example, a birdie would be a certain amount of money for a sponsor, and that is how I raised about $18,000 for Food for the Poor.
Okay, so obviously, a lot of us hear about $18,000 for a young man of your age, and that's pretty impressive. But for you, I guess that wasn't quite enough. So then you came up with this idea to hold your first tournament?
Yes, that is correct. I know that I raised $18,000, but I want to raise more and more and help more families. So I know that a lot of professional golfers hold actually charity events. So I'm like, maybe I should hold a charity event. And I did. It's called the Rafe Cochran Classic, and now it's an annual event. And the first event raised over $41,000.
Well, that's very impressive. And as an adult, I've done similar work to you, and the average person, even the people who play in golf tournaments, I don't think they understand exactly what is involved in putting a tournament together. There's quite a lot of work, right?
It is. I put in about 25 hours. It's very difficult. We have to put everything together. We had sponsors help out with it, and I hosted my charity event at Maiaku Lakes Country Club, and it was a lot of time and effort.
Now, why don't you talk a little bit about the event itself? I know you had said about, raising money by getting birdies. I mean, these events, usually there's all sorts of, interesting things at holes, whether they're sponsors or little side games or something. Why don't you talk a little bit about what you had at your first event?
Okay, so I had a lot of people would sponsor a hole to have like a sign up saying their name or a company, and also you would pay for like hole in one, would it be a certain, or closest to the pin, or longest drive would be an award. So that was mostly that type of stuff, and it was a very good tournament.
About how many golfers turned out for your first event?
72, about 72 to 80 golfers.
Very nice, very nice. I mean, some events have more, but when you have too many, sometimes it's also a little bit slower, so at least you get a good pace of play. That's a nice number.
It is, and as you know, Maiaku's not a very big, and it doesn't have a lot of cards, so like 130, which I would love, but it would be pretty hard at Maiaku.
Mm-hmm. No, but it's also a nice club, and people appreciate that when they come out to an event to have an opportunity perhaps to play at a club that they don't always have an opportunity to play at. So that's a nice plus as well. So now I'm assuming that you also had some sort of reception afterwards, awards, and a luncheon or a dinner?
We did. We had a lunch, and we actually had like a buffet dinner, but we had gross score, top 5 in net score, and we had closest to the pin awards and longest drive awards.
Now, being that it was such a success, from what I understand, you have already picked a date for your second annual event, correct?
I have. It's April 22nd, 2017.
Okay, and that's a Saturday, and it's going to be at the same location, correct?
Correct.
So it's the Maiaku Lakes Country Club. And, of course, you're going to be raising money for the same charity as well, right?
Yes. All the proceeds go to Food for the Poor.
And I have a question for you. Now, you're raising this money for the folks from Food for the Poor for Haiti. Do you have any desire to one day perhaps get down to Haiti and have an opportunity to maybe see some of the work that is being done based on the money that you're helping to raise?
Well, it's funny to say that. We actually had plane tickets a little while ago, but they had to be canceled for a mosquito outbreak. So we might be having some other plane tickets full